Have you ever had a money or career question you really wanted to ask, but didn't know who to go to or just felt uncomfortable even bringing it up? You're not alone. Talking about money can feel intimidating, even scary. And that's exactly what I'm trying to change. That's why I created a free virtual coffee chat, a casual, no pressure 20-minute conversation where you can bring one thing you're wrestling with and we'll talk it through. No judgment, no jargon, no sales pitch, just clarity, ease, and a real answer from someone who gets it. If you've got something on your mind, don't sit in the confusion. Book a spot at limitfreelife.com and let's sip and sort it out. Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Money and You Show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host, and we have quite a show today, packed with really valuable information, kind of perfect timing, where we're heading toward the end of the year, so I'm excited about that. I think that was a happy accident, but yay. I have a great guest today, and I guess we'll just dive right in. And I don't even want to mention the topic because I don't want you to run away, because I want you to know how valuable and important this is going to be. This is literally life-changing stuff that people often don't really want to talk about. And I have a great guest who talks about it beautifully, and she's going to be entertaining as well as knowledgeable, I'm sure, just from the 2 minutes of her personality that I've seen. So let me introduce you to Shauna, the tax goddess. She is a CPA with a master's in tax and many other initials after her name, commonly known as the tax goddess. She's a U.S. top 1% ranked, highly sought after tax strategist. She is passionate about helping successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and high-wage earners reduce their tax burden. Having founded Tax Goddess Business Services, PC, in 2004, she's built a large global team of tax specialists who use plain language, not tax code, to help her clients create tax opportunity and manage tax risks legally. Shauna, the tax goddess, as she's fondly called, is engaging and enthusiastic and has been called a pure joy to work with. She makes taxes fun, which I love. Her proprietary program, STC, Strategic Tax Coaching, boosts a current average tax rate of 6.92% for her clients. With over 4,700 tax plans written thus far, the Tax Goddess team has been able to help clients save over $1.47 billion in taxes. Shauna herself is a zealous tax and financial educator. She's a highly demanded ranked best-selling author, speaker with advanced communication and public speaking skills. Over the past year, she's been featured in many publications such as Forbes, Entrepreneur, as well as hundreds of television and podcast appearances, including CNN, CBS, NBC, and the 10-Minute Entrepreneur. There's so much more in her bio. I'm going to just stop there and let you meet her. So, Shauna, welcome.
Aw, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here. And I really do want to emphasize how important it is that people kind of tune in better to taxes, because I feel like everything else is so much more exciting. And so, people are looking at their investment opportunities and all kinds of wonderful things that we discuss all the time on this show. And there's a huge, huge piece of your wealth puzzle that is taxes. And if you look at taxes,
37%, I mean, it's your choice if you want to pay it or keep it. It's your call.
That's a great point. Yeah. And, I'll let you jump into it. But, when we think about taxes, and I'm all about, our beliefs around money, we think paying, and we think paying the government for, things that I won't benefit from, or whatever it is that we think. But it's not usually a positive. But if we think of this, good tax strategy will actually increase your wealth. So it's much more of a money maker than, just a payment that we're obligated to make.
I'm all about legally keeping instead of paying, right? So yeah, whatever we can do. And of course, it's all dependent on who you are and the chess pieces on your board. So that's, I think, some of the fun stuff we're going to talk about today. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you elaborate on that. I say that and then I jump in, so that's my problem. But
between the two of us, this will be an engaging conversation for sure.
We'll be talking all over each other. I'd love for you to highlight some of the ways that you help people because, and this is the reason, most people I talk to don't have a real tax strategist. They have a tax preparer, and 100%. There's an enormous difference. So
yes, there is. Well, so maybe we should start there because really, in our world, you're right. I look at it as really 3 different people that kind of handle, maybe 4 that handle your money, right? So one is your day-to-day bookkeeper. Like whoever's just tracking the receipts, right? Coming up with the financial statements, tracking the receipts. We all need those people. We love those people because they tell us whether we're making money, losing money, like what's going on, right? They give us the baseline. Your tax CPA, their job is to take that information, whatever the final information is, take that information, type it into the forms, check the right boxes to make sure you don't go to jail. Right? So we love our CPAs. We need the people preparing the tax returns. What's often missing in between those two is the tax strategist. Because for most taxpayers, right, we're calendars, so January through December. So whatever you've done by December 31st, if you haven't done it before that day, your CPA can't use that to reduce your taxes, what you're going to pay or hopefully keep on your tax returns. So really, in a perfect world, you want your bookkeeper working with your tax strategist, with your tax CPA together before December 31st to implement, to review what kind of strategies are we going to use, what works for you with your chess pieces, what doesn't work for you with your chess pieces, these kinds of things before December 31st. So earlier when you were saying it's very timely, I'm like, yes, it is. This is we're headed there, right? And anything you don't do is just money you are legally leaving on the table. Right. And I know you talked about the mentality around it. There's quite a few people that say, well, no, my CPA would have told me every strategy that's legal. The CPA's job, if you've ever met your CPA on April 14th, the day before April 15th, they don't have time to pick up the phone. They don't have time to research. They don't have time to look at anything. And most CPAs are so mired in all of the actual work that has to be done. Like preparing a return can take 8, 10, 12, 15 hours, right?
Right.
They don't have the time to research. And that's where a strategist, a specialist comes in. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, I'm fortunate enough to have a great tax strategist. Now he's going to retire soon, so that's a problem. But he's been with me for a long time, and he knows us well enough to really, be able to commit to some strategies better than somebody, who really doesn't know our history and hasn't been, because some of the strategy is short term for this year's tax return. Some of it is longer term.
Got it. 5, 10, 15. Are you trying to build an empire? Some people are trying to build generational wealth. That's hundreds of years. You have to know what's going on. So, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so and the other thing I loved about you is because I've always felt so fortunate to have this person in my life, but he's a one-man show. He will retire. He had a bigger firm, but they're not him. So, I love that you have a large team. And so, because that's the other problem is you may have a tax strategist, but, you may not be able to even recommend that person because they're a one-man show.
They may not be taking on any more clients. They may be retiring. I mean, so when you look at, and long story short, I've got a bunch of initials after my name, right? And so there's kind of a pyramid here of who's got what level of strategy. And so, according to Google, there's 660,000 CPAs in the US. There's only 60,000 that have masters in tax. And that's the beginning of tax strategy. And so as you start looking, CTC, there's about 1,000, CTP, there's about 200, CTS, which is the top of the top of the top of the strategy game, there's only 15, 1-5.
Wow.
So, right. So even if you've got one of the other, I'll have to find out his name after we're done. But, if you've got one of the other 15, right, and he retires, there's only 14 left, right? So finding the right strategist for you, and let's back up, right? You may not need the top of the top of the top of the top, right? So there's certainly also, segregated layers here. If you're paying 500,000 of tax, you may want one of the medium, the CTPs, right? If you're paying $1 million plus in tax, you want a CTS. If you're paying 20,000 in tax, you may be fine with a master's in tax, right? So it really, who you are, what you're doing, how complex your world is very dependent on who else you need in that team. So
yeah. It's really interesting to me because it's such a big part of our lives, actually, and it is, it is a large amount of money, and we probably put the lowest emphasis on it. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people.
I think, going to the theory and the mental and the emotional, people are terrified of the IRS, right? They're terrified, and so they dig their head in the sand. An emu, I can't see it, it can't eat me. Right. But that means that you're going to pay whatever the max tax bracket. Right now, the max tax bracket federal is 37. If you live in California, the maximum amount of taxes you're paying is 63%. 63. So dig your head in the sand if that's okay with you. Have at it. And if it's not, find somebody who can help you at your aggression level. So we should talk about the aggression level because that is a huge part of strategy here.
Right.
So we rank it 0 to 10. 0 meaning the IRS never calls you never ever, except there could be a random audit. Okay, it could happen to anyone. 10 mean we're all going to jail. Right. So most people, I always like to joke, I'm a redhead, so red and orange don't look good together. I'm not doing a level 10. We're not going to jail. It's not happening. But if a 10's going to jail, a 9 is doing Al Capone, shady stuff, hoping you don't get caught, and an 8 is, listen, I'm okay with an audit. Nobody wants one, but I'm okay with an audit because I have all the backup. I have all the documentation. Like, come talk to me, and that's fine.
Yeah, right.
When you're looking at your CPA, at your tax strategist as your bookkeeper, if you are an 8, most entrepreneurs are like a 7-8. Okay, if you're a 7-8, but your CPA is a -4.
Yeah.
They won't even bring up strategies that are totally legal, like level 0, totally legal, because they themselves are filtering stuff out that you're not even hearing about. So who you have on the team and their aggression level also massively matters in each case.
Right. And I think when people hear that, like your aggression level, they get jittery. That sounds like you're trying to push the envelope. And
which is why if you say you're a 2, I'm an 8. I will come down to
I would
it
say
too.
I'm an 8 as well. And so
yeah. And so you need to find somebody, because let's just, for example, let's say I'm an 8 and you said you were a 2. I can come down to a 2. But if I'm a 2 and you're an 8, you need to find somebody else. Right? So that team either has to be able to meet whatever the level is. I don't care if you're a 2. Let's do everything that a level 2 allows. I'm in. Let's do it. Right?
Yeah.
But you have to be comfortable, because side note, you're the one signing the return. So you better be comfortable with whatever's on it. So
yeah. Well, speaking of that, what do you find working with people? Like, how involved do they get? Do they even know what's in their return?
Great question. Well, when you work with a tax strategist, you know a whole lot more. If it's, in my opinion, a good tax strategist will explain things as much as you want to be explained to. Right. So some people just say, listen, I've hired you. I trust you. Whatever, right? And they'll just sign whatever, okay?
Yeah.
But other people like to at least, do you want to understand the basics, like the 50,000 foot view, or do you want to understand the nitty gritty? My engineers always want the nitty gritty. Where does the dollar move and how does it track and where does it go? So, working from that perspective, also working with somebody that has the same communication ability as you do, right? Because if you're an engineer and you want that detail and nobody can explain it to you, you're going to be really upset. you're going to be frustrated. So there's a lot of pieces, and a lot of it is emotional, because if you're the engineer type and you want the description and you want the aggression level and the person cannot explain to you, you now feel nervous. Yeah. But if all of those things are yeses, then you're fine, because now you know how it works. So, right.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And what about the folks who are choosing to use, I've actually only tried it once when I was helping my son, but like the TurboTax, idea that, well, I can sit down and do this myself. So
I smile. Let me back up. In our office, we have, in our office, we have 3 packages. Okay. There's the, I'm an engineer and I want to do it myself. Okay. Which means we will tell you the strategies, we'll tell you all the things, but you figure it out. Those are the only people that I would ever recommend doing TurboTax, ever. And it's the engineer, hyper detailed, knows all the things, has learned all the things, has spent all the time to do that. Right. And I will tell you, out of that 4,700 plans, two. Okay. There's not many people that get to that level of detail. Right. Now, side note, if you're straight up W-2, right, maybe a mortgage, TurboTax is fine. Yep. But if you're a business owner and you want to legally keep more of your money, absolutely not. Nope, hands down. Sorry, TurboTax. Love you for the basics, but not for strategy. Right. So it just depends. It depends. How complex are you? What are you trying to do? Right. If you're good with paying the 37%, TurboTax is fine. Have at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what what you do help people, especially business owners, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming that's the group of folks that have the most opportunity here.
Well, yeah, being a business owner gives you the most opportunity. Now, I always like to do a little caveat here, because you don't have to already be a business owner if you're willing to open a business. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, a business could be a short-term rental property, like an Airbnb. It could be driving for Uber or Lyft. Mm-hmm. It could be teaching music lessons to your kids' friends. Right. Having a business could be anything where you're not getting your income from a W-2. Right. So, and a lot of people get, they're thinking, I have to open a brick and mortar store and have employees. Yeah. You don't need to go that far. Right. A farm. So many people these days are now raising chickens and quails and rabbits and piglets and whatever, right? I mean, have a farm, be happy, So, but you're right, having a business gives you the best opportunity for deduction. Now, the biggest thing that I like to bring up here is that taking write-offs is really about 3 key words: ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Okay. So one of the biggest questions we get right off the bat is, I want to legally know how to write off my Rolex. I want to legally know how to write off my jet, legally know how to write off the yacht, whatever, right? Whatever it is that you're into, the purse, the Birkin, right? Like whatever. Okay. Do you have ordinary, necessary, and reasonable for that deduction? So I'll give you a perfect example. Rolex is probably one of my favorites, because it's typically the men that are like, I want to write off the 5 Rolexes, whatever. Open an eBay business, buying and selling watches. Okay. Now you can buy 5 Rolex. You can wear them, display them as advertising, right? You can walk around, show them off, see if you can sell one. Okay. But you can rotate through the Rolexes. You do have to actually make sales, right? You can't just buy them and have inventory, right? Like you do actually have to make sales. But if you sell some watches, then having watches on you to be able, as a display piece, as inventory, is ordinary, necessary, and reasonable, right? Because that's what you're selling.
Wow. It's a great example. Yeah.
Thank you. So a lot of tax deductions and how to reduce the overall taxation for your family is, well, where are you already spending money? Where do you already have an itch to buy the Birkin or writing off dogs? Okay, I don't know if you can see this red thing in the corner here. That is the corner of a dog bed, because I have 5 dogs. Oh, wow. My big girl, you can't see her, but she's sleeping on the thing right here. She is a half Connie Corso, half Great Dane. Wow. She's a big girl. She eats me out of house and home. Okay, so where am I already spending money, right? Lot double money here on this pretty little princess. However, if you were a burglar trying to break into my house, right? I have client information, client files, right? Are you going to come into the house with a Great Dane Connie Corso staring you down through the window? Probably not, right? So ordinary, necessary, reasonable for me to have a security system to protect my clients' files.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow. Love this.
yeah.
I love the people who love doing taxes and being in the strategic zone with it actually love the creativity. That's what I've seen with my accountant over the years.
1,000%. Yeah.
He like plays rock and roll music the whole time. We sit there, he does the taxes together. You know, he's older now, and he has always done this. And you can just see him go into the zone. I mean, it's like very cool. So I love that example, though. That is very creative and very, the whole time I'm thinking about my daughter who sells a lot of clothes. Not
And there you go. So she can do rotating and have the wardrobe and in and out. And I mean, this is where I tell people to start, especially if you don't already have a business. Look at what you're currently doing, right? Like, are you driving everybody's kids to and from soccer practice? Set up a little mini Uber service that is the mom van or whatever, and you charge $5 to pick up the kids and drive them to the soccer and drop them back off again, right? Now you have a business. So there's a million ways to skin getting a business. And once you have a business, now you can start looking at, there's like kind of tiered levels of strategies, low-hanging fruit. Get the kids on payroll, write off the dog, home office, cell phones, whatever, right?
Right.
Then as you start to make more money, you start looking at things like 401ks, defined benefit plans, putting into an 831B, like a captive insurance company. So you get to keep your own insurance premiums, as you start getting bigger. And when you're really, really big, now we start looking at that generational type stuff, right? Using irrevocable life insurance trusts to never have, you basically turn your family into the Rockefellers, right? You never pay tax ever again. So it all depends. And that's the fun stuff. So
very, very interesting. So if you are a W-2 employee and you want to set up something as a side gig, you can create a business, and there's no, people do have the idea that there are issues with that. Like they see you as a W-2 employee, so they get skeptical about a business. But
I think in the IRS, right, from the IRS's perspective, right, because I get it, you can't do a hobby as a business.
Right.
Okay. So for example, if you have one of those, I've seen some gorgeous like crafting rooms, the whole room is just filled with craft material and like, how to sew everything known to man. And like, you're just amazing at all the crafting stuff. You do actually have to sell product, right? Like you can't just have a hobby and never make any money. But the IRS also looks at it as, well, what was the intention? So did you go into it because you were passionate about it and it's your hobby and you never really, like you never posted on Craigslist, you never sold on Etsy, you never sold on eBay. Like if you never did the work to actually make it a business, then you have a problem.
Okay.
But if you're doing the work, right, like you're posting flyers in your neighborhood and you're holding business networking events at your house, trying to get more business, you're trying. The IRS doesn't fault you for, excuse the language, sucking at your job. Like they know that because 80% of businesses, 90% of businesses fail in the first year, right? Just because you tried and failed doesn't mean it wasn't a business. You tried, right? But you have to try. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. And if you do have losses in that business, that carries over into your individual return.
Offsets the W-2. You got it. Yep. So we see a lot of this, you started up that crafting business, right? And to start it, you had to buy the embroidery machine and the heat press machine. And, you spent $5,000 worth on equipment, but you only sold $100. That $4,900 loss offset your W-2, and of course then reduces your taxes. So
yeah, I'm laughing because I should have done that during COVID because I was buying everything under the sun to keep my daughter from losing her mind. So we did buy the embroidery machine and every tie-dye thing known to man and all of that. So we should have set up a business.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I always get people tell me, I wish I met you 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I would have done much better. So yeah.
Well, and this is the new world. The younger folks, especially here in California, it is pretty hard to, make enough money. And so most of the ones I know are doing other things.
It's gig work.
Yeah, but they're not treating it that way in the way that you're talking about. They're not actually setting it up.
No.
Properly.
And I think, you talked about what are some of the kind of the rules. Like if I were to give somebody rules, like brand new baby business owner walked into my office and said, what do I do to be successful? Right. Number one, and everybody hates this answer, document everything.
Yeah.
Every receipt. When you're at a business meeting, you take a selfie. Here's date, time stamped. I met with this person, right? Like documents more, right? Digital documentation is fine. You no longer have to physically keep the receipt, but take a picture of the receipt. Then it's time and date stamped. Like, document. The second one, and this is a hard habit to get into, but if you do it, mark my words, if you do it from day one, 15% of your gross revenue goes into a savings account. You don't touch it other than tax strategy specifically, right? Okay. So if you make $1,000, you put $150 into that savings account. And at the end of the year, when your tax strategist says, hey, I think we should buy a car and get that nice $100,000 write-off, you have the money to go buy the car. So You're not trying to play catch up at the end of the year, having to write checks or spend money or do whatever. You have the money. It's called profit first accounting. And not a lot of people got that, I guess, in school, that we all kind of stopped financial education, which just breaks my heart. But, it is what it is.
Right.
But if you can do 15% of gross, like top line before any other expenses, if you do that in your business and your personal life, you will never run out of money, ever.
So you're talking about doing it on both ends. So you do 15% from your business gross, and then whatever you're earning.
Same from your wages. Yeah, and gross, right? So if your salary is $150,000, it should be 15% of $150,000, not your take home, right? Gross. And if you do that, you're set for life, basically. So
that's really, really interesting. And that's not to pay taxes. That's to potentially employ some kind of a strategy.
Invest, do a strategy, buy a business, do whatever, right? Because at the end of the year, if you've got those two buckets of savings, basically, right, and you don't use them you're not spending day-to-day expenses, right? Side note, it also automatically forces you to budget your money, because 15% gross is a big number, right? So if you do that, when you get to the October, November, December, when you're doing tax strategy and your investment advisor comes in and says, hey, I've got this great deal in oil and gas, and if you put in $25,000, you get a $100,000 write-off, you just write the check. Like you just have the money to write the check. So when an opportunity comes up, you have the capability. So.
Ooh, I love that so much. So, and I love what you said about the budgeting, because that's what I've found over the years for myself and for other people. We need an incentive to get us to look at everything. And if the incentive is putting, our own money first or whatever it is, it just forces the issue of everything else has to be figured out. And whereas if you just try to budget to save, and it's not even, you don't actually have a number in mind. Like that's, I think.
How do you know what to save? You save $1, $5, 10, I don't know.
Right. And what do you do if your income fluctuates a lot? You're a business owner and you don't know your gross until the end of the year.
And that's what I love about the percentage, because side note, so, let's say your bookkeeper only does the books every 3 months. You know how much money hit your bank account, because you can look at your bank account. It shows you total deposits.
Yeah.
And at least for me, and many banks now do this. There used to be a great app called Cash Goblin that did this, right? But any deposit that hits your bank account, if it was $1, 15 cents would move. If it was $3, $4.50 would move, right? I mean, it just automatically, and a lot of the banks have that now built into their system, where you can just set it up and say, any dollar that hits this account, I don't even want to see it. Don't tell me, just move the money. Because for a lot of people, they're running their day-to-day life off of the balance in their bank account. So if that money is in a totally different account, preferably, side note, at a completely different bank.
Agree.
So you don't even see it on your homepage.
Yeah.
That's chef's kiss. So
I know, not knowing about money, I'm always advocating for people to know everything they can about their money, but in that particular area, just having it be gone into a safe place is such a beautiful thing. That's such great advice. And, you were talking about keeping receipts and all of that, or taking pictures. I know there are apps out there that can help with this. I don't have one off the top of my head, but I know you can find tools.
To be honest with you, and maybe it's silly, I'm definitely old fashioned from that standpoint. I'm just using my photos.
Yeah.
Seriously, like just snap a photo, right? Right when you get the receipt, you write on it, business meeting, networking, whatever the business purpose, ordinary, necessary, reasonable, whatever that was on the receipt. And it's a habit, but if you get in the habit of you take it, you snap it, then in your phone, it's date stamped. And I don't know, because, you said California, I'm Arizona, and in the heat, you leave a receipt in the car, it's white in a day. Like it's gone. The IRS has started getting to the point where white receipts are not like tough bananas. If you can't give them a receipt that has the number, you don't get the deduction. So,
wow.
Yeah. So having the actual photo is date stamped, time stamped, right? I actually think the IRS, as we're all starting to head more into this AI world, because you can fake a receipt. Yeah. Like you could fake a receipt right now, right? So if it's date stamped, time stamped up in Apple's iCloud or whatever, so.
That's super smart. I have thrown away a lot of receipts that, they're white paper at this point. And I was wondering about that, I guess it's okay because they're
Yep.
Wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah. The IRS came out with that about 3-4 years ago and said, if it's a white paper, sorry, doesn't matter your bank statement, because bank statements can be faked. I mean, at this point, almost everything can be faked, right?
That is true. Yeah. Wow. You bring up another great point, which is the beauty of having someone like you in our lives is you're keeping up with these rules, which is something, I'm formerly a CPA and people are like, oh, I'm like, I do not touch tax returns because I'm not staying on top of what's going on,
And that's the deal. So I am on the consulting side only. Right? We don't prepare taxes. So I may not read about what this new checkbox is on this form. What I'm reading about is the court case that happened 2 days ago about how you can write off your chihuahua. That's what I'm reading about, right? So, and it's why you have specialists in any given field. There's just not enough hours in the day for one person to know how to prepare and how to strategize and how to invest and how to do your life insurance. So that's always been one thing that kind of catches my attention. If somebody says, oh, I can do all that stuff for you. Really? How good are you if you're doing all the things? Because there's a lot. I mean, I read an update every single day from the IRS and about 3 every day from at least one of the states. So how does anybody manage that? So.
Yeah, I that's a really important point because you can be pretty ignorant at this point and be running on old rules. Yeah.
Yes.
And so can your accountant, actually.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the other reason why I like having the financial team. I know we talked about the first 3, the bookkeeper, the CPA, your strategist. The 4th one is the financial advisor generally. Mm-hmm. But having all 4 people coming at whatever the question is from their own perspective, their own angle to bring you data. Because your strategist may be more up to date on the court case, but your CPA may be more up to date on that new checkbox, and that checkbox relates to the court case that happened with it. So having that team, we like to tell our clients to try to have a board meeting with your financial team at least once every 6 months, because otherwise things change too fast. So.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think so few people do it. We're all in a rush. We get our 30-minute appointment on the phone with our financial advisor, and then we get our time with our tax accountant, and nobody's talking to anybody, together. And we really, it comes down to what I talk about a lot, which is, just kind of working with your money more. So, if we're not in a panic and we plan some things out and we are consciously making time to do these things, we will save money, make money, whatever the situation is. There was something else that came to mind as you were talking, though. I love this. And I think if people haven't figured out the benefit of working with somebody who is more of a, tax strategist, I hope they're hearing this from, your enthusiasm for it, I hope, is engaging them right now, because it's such an important piece of the puzzle. I've had other people come on and talk about some authors too, talking about, the kind of a quadrant, and there are 4 quadrants to become financially independent. And one of the big quadrants is taxes. And I think that's the one that people shy away from the most.
I was going to say, I think people shy away because it's death and taxes. I'm like, don't lump us together. Like, we're much more cool than death is. So we got options.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and you kind of epitomize what I really hope more people can find, which is somebody who enjoys this stuff. I mean, I feel fortunate to have found that in my tax person, but for any of these areas, even your bookkeeper, I've had people, who were stumped on certain things, and I'm like, go back to your bookkeeper and, talk to them. And they're not up for a conversation. They want to be like head down, putting the data in, and they don't really want that. So you have to find your people who align with, I think, a positive approach to money. Money shouldn't be like death.
100%. I agree. I mean, there's so many cool things. The way I look at it is, listen, most clients, when they come to us, they're in the 37% bracket. If I can get you to 6.92, so let's just round it, call it 7%, right? 30% of your money, what do you want to do with it? Do you, because I can save you the tax. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to give it to charity? Do you want to build a dog rescue? Do you want to buy a yacht? Do you want to pass it on to your kids? Do you want to buy real estate? What you want and your goals is the entire reason to do any kind of tax strategy at all, right? Like, if you literally don't care, let the government have it. Great. I'm all for our military, thank you to the soldiers. I mean, right? Like, if you don't care, let the government have it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do care and you have goals for your own money, then you better get on it. 37%, that's a lot of money to just be handing over to somebody else to control. So.
I don't know why that's going off. I put it on Do Not Disturb. So sorry about that. This is great. And one thing that you brought up, I just want to address, you mentioned having that charity. Is that another thing, if you're more interested in having a charity versus a side gig, is that a strategy as well?
There's always options, right? Let me back up. We look at about 1,800 strategies for every single client, right? Okay. So, and this goes back to the concept of the chessboard, right? I kind of threw it out there. So let me give some decent examples. I am single, 5 dogs, okay? No kids, all right? Okay. You may be married with a husband with 3 kids with a grandkid, right?
Right.
I own 1 house. You may own 5 rental properties, okay? Every single person's chessboard, the pieces on the board are different, right? But the rules apply to all of us. Okay. So which strategy is going to be best for you is going to be totally different than the strategy that's best for me. Okay. So can you use charity? Yes, right? Now, if you use charity, like the way, the context in which you brought that up kind of sounded like forming it more like a business, right? As a thing you do and you're active and you're managing it and that kind of thing. First of all, do you want to be in that world? Yeah. Charity is very tough. That is a very tough world, right? If you love it and that's what you want to do, all day, great, let's do that, right? And then your friends can pay you and they can get their tax deduction. You can be the charity and everybody's happy, right? But yeah, I think really when we speak to people, step 1 is really 2 main questions, right? First one is, what's your aggression level? 0 to 10. Because if you're 2, we're not going to tell you to go into charity. It's a pain there's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork and the government's involved, and like a 2, you don't want to go there. Okay. Right. So aggression level. And then secondly, well, what do you want? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, where do you want your money to go? If you love dogs and you want to have a whole rescue farm and with the thing, great, charity it is. Let's figure it out. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for bringing up the check boxes. This is so funny. Life just works this way, but I just got a couple of notices. I did my parents' trust tax return, and I got, or maybe it was their individual one actually, but I got a couple notices, from the IRS. And so I freaked out a little bit, and it looked like they owed a lot of money. And I called their tax accountant, and he looked at it, for an hour and called me back and said, oh yeah, there are these boxes for California, that we checked wrong. And that was all it was, is send an amended return with boxes checked differently.
Check the other box.
It's like gone. I mean, So I was in a, pretty big panic, and it ended in an hour, but I never, when you brought that up, it's like, that's a real thing.
It is a very real thing. And especially what we're hearing now, what we've been seeing. I mean, just recently, the IRS was completely shut down, right? The government was shut down. The IRS just opened. When I spoke, I think this was a few weeks ago, when I spoke to an IRS agent, she said, yeah, we're at 13% capacity. We still haven't even processed all the 2024 tax returns.
Yeah. Yeah, this was actually a problem for 2023. But it wasn't even really a problem. And, that's the other thing. We assume everything is a problem when we hear from the IRS, and much of it can be addressed.
Just notifying, fix a box, check a box, call in. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Well, Shauna, this was so great. I could talk to you all day, and I'm so appreciative that you came on. How do people find you? How can they have personal conversations with you about their own money situations?
I love it. Thank you. So taxstrategist.com is the easiest way to find us. You'll probably speak to my sales guys before you talk to me, and they'll make sure which package, what's right for you. Are we right for you? Do you need us? Where do we send you? That kind of thing. Okay. But yeah, I tend to get involved. I'm more the brain creativity piece in the background from that standpoint. Right. So I get involved when we're doing actual detailed work. So. Okay.
And does your firm do taxes as well?
We do not. So we have partners that prepare the returns. Yeah, we just do the strategy. As you said, right? Like you were a CPA, you maybe could maybe do them still. Yeah, no, I would much rather our specialty is the strategy and how to play them together. So,
but you can recommend preparers for people who...
Oh, yes. Yeah. We have a wide network of preparers that work with us that understand the strategies we use. Because this is one of the other pieces is people say, yeah, great, I want a strategist. And then they do all the strategy, but they didn't talk to their CPA. And so when they bring it to their CPA, I don't know that. Absolutely not. I'm not signing that.
Right.
Right. Like they need to be all on the same page. So.
Okay. And you work with people all over the country?
We do. Yes, ma'am. Yep. All 50 states. I think at the moment we've got clients in about 37 of them. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. I love this. And I think this is so beneficial. So, listeners, I would give taxgoddess.com a call because this is really, a fantastic service that honestly, I don't think that many people provide. I mean, I think you're lucky if you find somebody who does this kind of thing. So
most people don't even know we exist. So, yep.
Yeah, congrats on filling this void because it's really important. So, all right. Well, I so appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. And any final word before we end 2025?
I was going to say, if you're going to do something, now's the time to do it, right? We're coming up right quick on December 31st. And I think the biggest thing, people will wait until, like I've gotten telephone calls on December 31st and I'm like, I'm eating cookies and champagne. We're kind of done. So I would really say December 15th, December 17th is you're kind of out of luck. So if you're going to do something, make calls, get on it ASAP, right? So.
Yeah. Or call at the beginning of next year to ensure that you have a better year.
You got it. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Shauna. And this was so good. And thank you, audience, for listening. We love having you listen to the Money and You Show. And I'm always so excited to share wonderful people with wonderful knowledge with you. And so please take advantage of getting to know people a little bit better if you think that you can be helped by them. And if you want to be helped by me, you can go to limitfreelife.com and check out what we're doing over there. Hop onto our newsletter so you can get more information on what's happening in my world. And if you're looking for money, career, or business coaching, you can find it there. And please share the show with anybody that you think could benefit from it. I'm planning on sharing this with my daughter and her boyfriend who just set up a new company. So yes, okay. Thank you so much. And if you like the show, please like, subscribe, review. That always helps as well. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.